Welcome back to STL TV Live. I'm here with Diane Everman and Daniel Reich, co-curators of Standing for Justice at the Jewish Federation of St. Louis. When we left off, we were talking sort of about, not entirely, but the part of the exhibition that focuses on 1937 to 50. But there's the other part of it that focuses on the civil rights movement of 1980. This is really significant because whenever people bring up freedom riders, for example, it shows a true coalition of Jewish Americans and Black Americans. And tell me more about how this exhibit highlights that.
Well, there were a lot of members of the St. Louis Jewish community who participated in everything from Selma to Montgomery and especially the March on Washington. And Rabbi Grolman and many others actually recorded their experiences. They left their thoughts, their impressions of being with either Dr. King or being part of this, and they're very powerful. And some of them actually are in the exhibition. Others we just didn't have room for them. It was the St. Louis Jewish community who brought Martin Luther King to St. Louis for the first time. So there was a great alliance or at least a partnership. And I think in some of that was brought about because much of the discrimination that the African American community was feeling at this time and had been feeling for quite some time, the Jewish community had also experienced. So they felt a bond and the idea of human rights in general.
I don't think I actually told you, Diane, but we had a tour at the museum this morning, and the tour guide came up to me and said, you know, I went down in 1965 to help with voter registration in the South, and if you'd like me to contribute, she said she'd be happy to speak about that. So it was really interesting how the two communities did come together on these issues.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's great that you're capturing this sort of now, because as we mentioned, standing for justice, when you talk about voting rights, is still a topic. Here we are in 2014. I want to ask you, do you feel that there's still this partnership here in the 21st century between African Americans and the Jewish community in the same way? And
beyond, and not just those two communities. The JCRC, the Jewish Federation, has a partnership with a lot of groups, big supporters of the Bosnian community, various others, because they're all struggling for the same thing.
And as long as any group is oppressed, we all bear that responsibility.
Absolutely. And you know, in St. Louis, obviously, we know it's a big year here because it's the 250th anniversary. So is any of this play a role with STL 250 with this exhibition?
This does have the imprimatur of STL 250. It was, I have to say, coincidental, but it worked out perfectly.
Absolutely.
And it's probably one of the reasons that the Regional Arts Commission was also very eager to support this show, because not only does it focus on the role of the Jewish community's response, but the collaborations, the broader issues, and really St. Louis history at that time.
And when we look at the materials, I mean, from the archival standpoint, how long does it take how much of this do you already have sort of on hand? How much of it do you have to outreach to the community to say, hey, go through your old newspapers? How long does this process take?
We actually have most of this already in the archives. We're at capacity and a little overflowing right now, but there are still items that we would love to have being brought in. This collection, that most of this came from, the JCRC collection,
the Jewish Community Relations Council.
Is about 110 cubic feet of material. So that's a lot of material. It's everything from correspondence to brochures to stickers that would appear in people's mails or slapped on the side of a business.
Reports of actions that were taken.
So as the curators, you go through and say this fits with the theme of this exhibition. But
there were difficult decisions and a lot more material that could have been shown.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, now you made me. I really want to see it, and I think people at home, of course, should check it out. We have the information for you right there on the screen. It's Standing for Justice It looks at 1950 to 1989 documentation from the St. Louis Jewish Community Archives, and again, it focuses on standing for justice against discrimination, not just about the Jewish community, but also for African Americans and others. So go check it out with a lot of materials.
And I should say part 1 is also on view.
Okay, part 1 is still on view.
Right.
Okay, and
Right.
part 2, and maybe next time we'll have you here for part 3.
Maybe.
Could be.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you. And please stay with us because it's that time of the year when love is in the air, and it'll soon be all over Art Hill Forest Park. So stay tuned for details after this break.